So, one of the movies I saw yesterday was a family-friendly film called Home. The other movie we saw was completely different, and it was Get Hard. Yeah, I can't help it. Every time I say this title, it gives me a very uncomfortable feeling. And that is because, obviously, the title has double meaning to it. And I don't think you have to be a genius to figure that out. So Get Hard was a movie that I was excited for. I felt like the title was really bizarre and just uncomfortable, but I still wanted to see it, hoping that it would be good. And I guess Get Hard is definitely a perfect title when you look at the plot. So the whole plot of Get Hard is Will Ferrell is this successful businessman on Wall Street or of some sorts, and unfortunately he gets framed for this crime that he did not commit, which is taking all this money and yada yada yada, just Wall Street crimes, right? So of course he's found guilty even though he's been framed, and he has 30 days to get his wares in order. Fearing that he's going to turn into someone's bitch in prison, Will Ferrell tries to get the help of the only black person he knows, Kevin Hart, who Will Ferrell believes he must have went to prison because it's statistically probable. Yeah, that's the plot of the film, and it is very, very raunchy. So if you're not a fan of that type of comedy, then you're probably going to hate this film with a passion. I'm personally not a big fan of raunchy stuff either, but there are some movies that I have exceptions for, like The Hangover and a few other films of its type that I think, oh, it's still a funny movie, it still has its merits. Get Hard does have its merits from time to time. It is pretty funny. The whole theater I was in laughed multiple times, but it's not as funny as I hoped it would have been. Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart still play the types of characters that they play in almost all of their other movies. Will Ferrell is still like a wimp and almost like a man-child, and Kevin Hart is just, well, he's Kevin Hart in all of his other films, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of his character in Ride Along, if you've seen that movie. This is a film that is still funny and has its merits, and some of it is unfortunately a little too racist or a little too politically incorrect that some people will take great offense to this movie. I know some of the moments in the film I felt uncomfortable for sure. It's also a film that really doesn't feel like a Kevin Hart or a Will Ferrell movie. When you see those two actors in it, you'd think, okay, it's going to be like a Will Ferrell movie, things you would expect in a Kevin Hart movie as well, and have some kind of combination of the two, or some sort of in-between realm. But in all honesty, it didn't feel like a Will Ferrell or a Kevin Hart movie, even though both of the characters felt like something they would be in. And then some of the dialogue actually felt more like a Seth Rogen movie, in a way, because Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart almost had this chemistry from time to time that felt like Seth Rogen and James Franco. You know, the kind of weird humor where they're such best of friends that it almost becomes a little gay sounding, some of the dialogue. Some of that is in Get Hard, and some of those moments are pretty funny. A lot of humor in Get Hard is the kind that is so awkward that you almost feel embarrassed for the characters, and it becomes a little funny because of that, while other times it just makes you roll your eyes and just bow your head realizing, why am I watching this film? There are some great scenes. Most of the funny stuff is in the trailer, but there are some other moments that are pretty funny that aren't in the trailer as well. And there are still moments that do almost resemble a Kevin Hart type film, and then there are some moments that also do represent a Will Ferrell film, but not enough of it to make you feel like you're watching a Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell movie. Like for instance, there's this one scene that felt like it could have worked in almost any Will Ferrell movie, and it was him being completely crazy and doing karate, and it was kind of a funny really crazy laugh out loud experience. Overall, I still thought it was a fine comedy. Some people will not like the raunchiness. Some people will feel like it's too much. Some people will think, okay, this is very offensive. While other people won't mind it at all. And some will think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. It all depends on what you feel like and what you like in a comedy, because comedy, just like horror and pretty much almost any genre, tends to be very subjective to your own likes. So for me, I'm going to give Get Hard a 2.5 stars. So have you seen Get Hard? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If you haven't, then what is your favorite Will Ferrell or your favorite Kevin Hart film of all time? And just as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.